What's good, y'all? We got a very exciting episode for y'all today because as you can see over here to my right, I have a guest that y'all already know. The man needs no introduction, but it's my guy who is the owner of one of the best Miami Heat channels on the entire internet. It's my guy Ernest, the Miami Heat Talk. Ernest, how you doing, my boy?
I'm living the dream, especially with an introduction like that. I'm feeling on cloud nine. I appreciate you, my guy. Thank
Well,
you.
I know the fans are gonna be excited for this one. You know how many times I'm watching your videos and I see the same dudes commenting on both channels and they referencing each other's videos. It's
it
truly like a beautiful community of
re-
like Heat online, Heat content creators. It's a really nice community we have, and it's like a dope thing, you know.
it really is, man. I mean, this is the type of stuff that brings people together. Like we come from different families, we come from different cultures, we come from different vibes, but one thing we can all connect with is Miami Heat basketball. That's what I love, man. It's a beautiful thing to have, and it's a beautiful thing to talk about. And I am ready for this episode.
Man, I love how you started off with that heartfelt message. Very, very great message, right? You almost put a tear in a grown man's eyes like that 76ers game yesterday. But the
For
reason
real.
that was a beautiful intro is because for those of y'all that don't know, this is actually part two to a two-part series. Obviously, the first part is on Ernest's channel, and everything will be linked down below, so make sure y'all subscribe to my boy. But on his channel, with 5 games left in the regular season, we talked about the absolute best case scenario for what we could see for this Miami Heat team with, just a week to go, heading into the postseason. And given that this team is one of the most bipolar teams in NBA history, they have a very wide range of where they can finish. So on this channel, a lot of people seem to think I'm a hater sometimes. I don't know why. But on this channel, we're going to talk about the absolute worst case scenario. So before we get into that, though, I want to ask you, Ernest, how are you feeling? For some context for the people watching, yesterday the Heat had one of the most. Oh, well, this will probably be uploaded Saturday. So 2 days before that, the Heat had one of the most demoralizing losses versus 76ers, and then they have a pretty encouraging win versus the Houston Rockets, making this a pretty great time to record this video. But overall, how are you feeling going into the end of the season here?
So that loss against Philadelphia reminded me of that loss against Brooklyn last year for the 6th seed. Like it was heartbreaking, it was deflating. I know I told my squad to stay positive and I try, but it's tough cuz that loss was tough. Yeah, you win in Houston, you do what you got to do, but you're still a game and I mean you're still a half a game down from 6th seed. Had you won against Philly, you would have had control going into Sunday. But now our backs are against the wall. And apparently, this is what the Miami Heat likes to do. So whatever. Screw it. Let's do it.
But what are you thinking is going to happen before we get into the worst case scenario? You got 5 games left, right? For the people that don't know the schedule, they got the most important game of the season on Sunday versus the Indiana Pacers. Obviously, half game back at them, followed by a game at Atlanta that they should win, followed by a very tough game at home versus Dallas, and then you got back-to-back games versus the Toronto Raptors. So, how are you feeling about those last 5 games? What do you think our chances are there?
I think those are 5 winnable games. Atlanta, we can defeat. Dallas is going to be it's probably going to be the toughest test, but we can win. Toronto, they're trying to lose. So, in my opinion, I don't think it's any issue. I think you can go in there and smash. So,
You
I
see
think
what
these
Toronto did
last.
yesterday, though.
Yeah, fine. They beat Milwaukee, whatever, but they're trying to lose. They want their first round pick. So I'm sure after that win against Milwaukee, the coach is like, dude, come on, lose. Come on. We need our draft pick. If you guys win, I lose my job. No, I'm sure the coach is going to adjust some roster against the Heat. The fact is, these are 5 winnable games. I feel that he can win them. Just do what you got to do. You're healthy. We finally have a healthy team. Besides Josh Richardson, he's out for the year, but we finally have a healthy team. Just get to the playoffs healthy. That's all I want. What are we going to do? If we have a healthy team, we're going to win it all. We're going to win it all. But this is worst case scenario. So let's go ahead and bash this team a little bit, shall we?
Well, you said if this team is healthy, Ernest. You've been a Heat fan long enough, and you a smart enough guy to know that that is a giant if. Okay, They just got Tyler Hero back yesterday versus the Houston Rockets. Had a very nice game. I think he showed a lot of positives. Didn't look too rusty scoring. Had 6 assists. That was all nice. But worst case scenario, I got to imagine includes a lot of injuries. So tell me, what is just straight up? What is your worst case scenario with 5 games left going into the postseason?
Worst case scenario is that Tyler Hero in this next game has an amazing 26-point game. Then he steps onto the court, his toenail breaks, his leg slaps, and then that's it. He's out for the rest of the year. This dude can't stay healthy. So the only thing that I'm glad is that he's healthy now because we're about to get into the playoffs. So at least we might get a fraction of a healthy Tyler Hero moving forward. But chances are he's going to trip on his own foot, fall, and break another bone because he's so brittle.
I actually thought you were going a different direction at first. You said worst case scenario, Tyler scores 26, and I thought you were going to say, and then that means Spoelstra starts him the game after that, because me and you both agree on that. While we love Tyler Hero and think he's a very talented player, best case scenario is him coming off the bench for this team. Do we agree there?
100% facts. You saw it tonight. 17.6 assists, 5 rebounds off the bench. You saw how he set players up. You saw what he did against the second unit players. Perfect. That's what we need.
So let's say worst case scenario, we won't single Tyler out because I think it's pretty obvious worst case scenario is him missing another postseason, right? 2 years ago was the Eastern Conference Finals. He got hurt. Last year, somehow broke his wrist in the first round, which people are saying is like a freak accident. Like, yeah, but there's also a lot of guys that would have dove and not broke their wrist. But I don't want to slander Tyler. This is why people think I'm a hater. But anyways, worst case scenario, they don't stay healthy. Let's say you lose the guys like some of the older guys. Kevin Love misses a game or two. Tyler Hero can't stay healthy. What does that mean for the Miami Heat? Like going seeding wise, playoff wise, do they make the playoffs? Give me your worst case scenario finish to the season.
So the worst case scenario is they're going to make the play-in because no matter what they do, they're a play-in team. Because right now, if you look at the standings, Atlanta's the 10th seed, and then far behind them is Brooklyn, who are 5.5 games down. So right there, the Heat are going to have a shot at the playoff. We're locked in to have a shot. Worst case scenario, they fall to the 7th seed. They don't get the 6th seed. They lose to They lose to Indiana on Sunday. That starts worst case scenario 1 because you lose to Indiana, ladies and gentlemen. I don't care. You lose to Indiana,
Lord
you
help
don't get
us.
the 6th seed.
Oh, Lord help us if they lose
You
that game
don't
Sunday.
get the 6th seed. That's just facts, in my opinion. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You lose to Atlanta, you lose to Indiana, no 6th seed. So that's worst case scenario. So you're a play-in team. Worst case scenario, you lose. Worst case scenario, actually, is that you get the 8th seed and then lose to Boston in the first round, get embarrassed, and then you don't get a good draft pick. That's worst case scenario. But I don't think it'll happen because I think the Miami Heat's Boston's Achilles heel. So, but hey, Boston's loaded this year, so we haven't beat them in the regular season, and this is worst case scenario video. So, yeah, worst case scenario, we get the 8th seed, we lose to Boston in the first round, get embarrassed, and we're the laughing stock for the season. That's worst case.
You snuck in a little bit of positivity there and reeled yourself back in.
Flipped it. I flipped it.
Exactly. So I want to reiterate that because what I'm about to say, which is mostly agreeing with Ernest for the most part, is not what I think is going to happen, but I think it's a realistic possibility, right? What I think is going to happen and is, they got, my opinion. I think this Heat team can make the finals. Best case scenario, that's on his video, link down below. But worst case scenarios, like you said, guys get hurt. They could miss the whole damn playoffs entirely, right? Whenever you in the play-in,
Yep.
there's no guarantee. They were one Max Strus explosion away from losing against the Bulls last year.
Facts.
They would have been out completely. But let's say they get the AC, they go versus Boston. Like you said, they could get their ass kicked. They could get swept. And what you're really looking at is best case scenario, they obviously make the finals. But worst case scenario, you got a repeat of 2021 versus the Bucks. And to me, I kind of like to look at that series as the outlier because you had the shortest offseason in NBA history prior to that, right? If you look at the 4 teams that was left in the bubble, it was the Heat, Lakers, Celtics, or Heat, Lakers, Celtics, Nuggets, and all four of those teams were out in the first round the following year. So
Yep.
to me, I think that was a legitimate excuse in that 2021. That's why I personally don't think we'll see that again. But then again, the Heat were severely outmatched in that series, and playing Boston this year, they would be severely outmatched. Who do you think would be the Bryn Forbes equivalent? Is it Peyton Pritchard?
It would have to be. It would
Sam
have to be
Hauser?
some.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have to be somebody like that because that's how Miami Heat culture is. We always lose. When we lose, it's embarrassingly to like the JJ Barreras, the Peyton Pritchards, the Sam Howells. That's how it is. It's always the guy that you've never heard of that drops 30 on the Miami Heat. Because when we lock down Nikola Jokic, when we shut down Jamal Murray, and when we're supposed to win games, who kills us? Michael Porter Jr. Like, what? Come on.
What's that
Ugh,
Brown name? The guy who spells Brown with an AU in it?
for
Christian
real.
Brown on the Nuggets.
For real. Oh
Now they got
man.
that Peyton Watson kid. Man, you could argue worst case scenario is also making the finals, getting your ass kicked by Denver. Because if that happens, and you telling me we had this whole offseason and they decide to run it back and they get the same damn results, Ernest, what's the definition of insanity? What is it? You tell me.
Repeating the same thing over and over
And
again.
expecting different results.
Exactly.
So if
Kill
they
me.
get the same results as last year, ooh, I was mad when they didn't get Dame and they run it back. If they get the same results, it's not going to be a pretty time this
Killing me.
weekend. So
Yo, Ant, pause. I got 2% left.
as y'all can see here, we're back. My guy Ernest has a little bit of a different background there, and that's because his phone died, which I think would be a pretty good metaphor for if the Miami Heat lose on Sunday versus the Pacers, because that would be their season ending. Would you agree with that, Ernest?
Absolutely. It's like I said, especially after the loss to Philadelphia this Sunday, it's for all the marbles. If the Heat lose to Indiana, that's it. You're a play-in team, and you're going to have to try to do the same thing you did last year, which, just like you said earlier, Anthony, what's the definition of insanity? Repeating the same thing and expecting the same result. There is no way that you can go back to back years as a play in team and make the NBA finals. But if there's one team that can do it, it's us. I'm going to sneak in a little positivity. Sorry. But chances are, no, for real, like being positive as you can, but chances are we're not going to be able to do that. Like, that's why you got to get out of this play in situation. It's for all the marbles this Sunday in Indiana. There's no other way to say it.
I was gonna sneak in a little bit of positivity too. Uh, if they somehow end in the play-in, I'm not gonna say it's the end of the world because, like you said, if there's one team that could do it, but it's specifically if they lose Sunday. Because this Heat team is a team that has more talent than that Pacers team. They know the stakes of this game. And if they don't go balls to the walls, if Jimmy Butler does not try this game, that is what's going to take all of my confidence away because of this specific game versus this specific team with these specific standings on the line. Half game back, 5 games to play. You got to have your best performance out there. Anything short of that, and my confidence is shot.
Playoff Jimmy has to start now. I mean, I know everybody's asking. It's funny because Heat Nation is asking for playoff Jimmy. Where's playoff Jimmy? And I'm saying, is it the playoffs? No. What? I don't get Heat Nation. I don't get this. Like, you're asking for playoff Jimmy, but it's not the playoffs. Look, if you performing bad in the playoffs, then ask where's playoff Jimmy. Where's playoff Jimmy right now? Coasting for the playoffs. So you
Spitting.
need your other guys to step up. You need Rozier. You need Bam. You need Tyler Hero, who's back. But yo, we need Duncan Robinson. We need Duncan. Like, what is this thing? Like, what? Like, I understand he had 10 points in it against Houston. Cool. But worst case scenario, he's not feeling good. We know for an NBA championship, Anthony, it's not just about who's the most talented team. It's about who's the most healthiest team. Now, the positive for us is that we're getting a fresh Tyler Hero. We're getting a fresh Kevin Love. We're getting a fresh Jimmy Butler, who's exhausted his PTO
Mhm.
time for the love of God this season. But I feel we have a healthy enough roster, barring Josh Richardson. I know he's out for the year, but Haywood Highsmith, he's able to do what Jay Rich does. I feel with this roster, we can't do it.
Hey,
But this is worst case scenario. So worst case scenario is we can't get this together. We lose in the first round. And you know what that's going to do, Anthony? That's going to make our draft pick much more interesting. And it's going to make the off season.
Can I interest you in Bronny James?
We're doing that for real. Bronny James. That's do you know where Bronny James is real? If you make the Eastern Conference Finals, NBA Finals, or NBA Championship, win the championship, and Bronny James, we know what's Bronny James, a lower first round, second round pick, maybe?
If his dad wasn't LeBron, that boy ain't getting drafted.
Yeah, okay. But he is LeBron's son. So, my opinion, where is he going to get drafted? Second round? I don't think the Heat are not that team. The Heat are not. If he's there in the second round, I don't think we'd have a second round pick. But
depends if LeBron says he's leaving. If LeBron confirms, that will change everything.
But that's the thing. You have to pick your draft pick before free agency.
I know.
So I don't think
LeBron can get the word out there. You know how he works. He can get the word out there.
True. But there's something that's called a contract where you can't say anything until July 1st. So
you think the rules apply to LeBron?
In this case, kind of. In this case, kind of, because it's like written contracts. I mean, look, I get rumors and I get all that, but and I'm sure you've talked about this. Yeah, you have. I've talked about this. We've all talked about the fact of Bronny getting drafted to the Heat, meaning LeBron can come back here. That's a wink-wink type of thing with Pat Riley and LeBron. Could it happen? Absolutely. But we know this Miami Heat team. Let's look at past draft picks. Tyler Herro, Bam Adebayo, Jaime Jaquez, Nikola Jovic. The recent draft pick we make are for the betterment of this team. You think the Heat, if we get the worst case scenario video, ladies and gentlemen, let's say we get the 8th seed, we're getting a lower team pick like we got Jaime Jaquez. You want to risk that pick for Bronny?
Yes.
Like, is that what we're doing?
If it means getting LeBron, yes. And we're going on a long time here, so I want to transition to the outro like this. Obviously, Ernest was talking about Jimmy Butler in regular season versus playoffs. I will say, though, I think Jimmy has enough PTO rollover dates from his times with Thibs. The man never got a day off, let alone a minute off. So I think he will be there. And relating to that, I said some very, very wise words at the end of Ernest's video. And if you want to hear what those are, make sure to click the link in the description to check out his video. That's part 1 where we give the best case scenario. Most importantly, leave a subscription for my boy. It's completely free. Hit sub over there, hit sub over here. We see the statistics. We know most of y'all watching this video are not subscribed. So just check if you are and hit the button because it does mean the world to us. Ernest, you want to shout out anything before we get out of here?
I want to shout out the 2024 championship is going to be won by the Miami Heat. Hopefully. Let's go.
Best case scenario. That's on
Best
his
case
channel.
scenario. Don't forget part 1, Miami Heat Talk. Like, subscribe. My squad, Miami Heat Talk fans, please support my boy Anthony DiNardo. Thank you so much for having me on here, bro. Really appreciate it. Can't wait to do this more. We got the off season. We got a lot of stuff we're gonna do for you guys. Thank you.
Look, pull up in your city, tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.